I never thought I'd end up standing in her kitchen, pretending to fix a stove that wasn't really broken. If you told me a year ago that I'd be here, I would have laughed. But the truth is, I wasn't laughing when she leaned over the counter, the late afternoon sun cutting across her hair, and asked me if I could handle the heat. Her name's Anna, my best friend's mom. Mid-40s, maybe 46 at most. The kind of woman who carries herself like she doesn't need anyone. But you can tell, if you look close enough, there's a part of her that wants to be noticed again. I'd only meant to drop by. My friend had left for a weekend trip, and Anna asked if I could check on the oven, just in case. I knew nothing about stoves, but I couldn't say no. Maybe I didn't want to. The kitchen was quiet, except for the ticking of the clock above the sink. Too quiet. My throat felt dry, like even breathing would sound too loud. She moved easily around me, pulling her hair back into a loose knot, sleeves rolled, a faint sheen of flour still on her fingers. I caught myself watching the way she wiped her hands against her jeans. Slow, distracted, like she was lost in thought. "You don't have to actually fix it," she said, a little laugh escaping her, low and throaty. "It just runs hot sometimes." I bent to look at the dials, more to hide my face than anything. My hands shook as I touched the knobs, pretending to understand them. "Yeah, looks fine. Probably just needs a reset." When I looked up, she was bent over the counter, reaching into the cabinet. The way the light caught her, the way silence pressed between us. It didn't feel like a kitchen anymore. It felt like standing on the edge of something I couldn't name. Then she turned, a small smile tugging her mouth. "Can you handle this heat?" She meant the oven. I knew she meant the oven. But the words hung in the air too long, too heavy, like they weren't really about the stove at all. I froze. My chest tightened, and I couldn't trust my voice. Yeah. I mean, it's not that bad." Her eyes held mine for a beat too long. Not an accident. Not casual. Something flickered there. Something neither of us wanted to say out loud. She straightened slowly, brushing her hand against the counter. And for a second it looked like she was about to step closer. The air smelled faintly of coffee and heat from the oven. My hands were still resting on the dials, but I couldn't feel them. All I could feel was her presence. Every detail of her, the curve of her cheekbone, the line of her jaw, the way she bit her lip for half a second before glancing away. I should have said something safe, something easy. Instead, silence stretched. Finally, she broke it with a quiet laugh, softer this time. "You're too serious. It's just a stove." But her tone wasn't light. Not really. And when she reached for the towel near me, her fingers brushed mine. Not an accident, not careless. Just long enough to send a spark racing through my arm. Neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. Her hand lingered, then slowly withdrew. She turned back to the counter, pretending to busy herself. But I saw the way her shoulders rose. A deep breath, a pause that wasn't about cooking. And I knew, without a doubt, this wasn't the end of it. I should have left right then, after pretending the stove was fixed. That was the logical move. Safe, respectful. But logic wasn't what kept me standing in that kitchen. Watching her lean against the counter like the silence didn't bother her. It did bother me. Every second stretched too long, too heavy. Anna glanced toward the window, the late light slipping in gold streaks across her face. She looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with her body, the kind of tired you carry behind your eyes when you've been holding too much alone. "You know," she said almost offhand, "this house feels too big these days. I don't even bother cooking for myself half the time." Her words sounded casual, but the way her fingers tapped against her arm gave her away. She wasn't talking about food. She was talking about emptiness. I swallowed hard. My throat felt dry. "Yeah, I get that." She tilted her head, curious. "You live with roommates?" "Not anymore. Moved out last month. Place feels—" I hesitated. The word lonely stuck on my tongue. Too honest. "Quiet." Her smile flickered, soft but fleeting, and I caught it. That tiny shift, like she recognized herself in me. And that's what made it dangerous. Because this wasn't supposed to be anything. She was my friend's mom, 10 years younger than my own mother, but old enough that lines should have been clear. Except they weren't. Not when I noticed things I shouldn't. The way her hair kept slipping loose from its knot, the faint crease near her mouth when she tried not to smile, the way her laugh dipped low like it had weight. I turned back toward the oven, pretending to check the knobs again just to break the spell. My hand brushed the counter, and I realized I was gripping it too tight. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly, her voice lower now. "You didn't come here to listen to me complain." "It's not complaining," I answered too quickly. My voice cracked slightly, and I hated how obvious it sounded. "I mean, you can talk, if you want." Her eyes lingered on me then, longer than before, like she was testing something. Testing me. That was the moment I should have left. Instead, I stayed still. The air between us felt charged, even though neither of us moved. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words locked up inside me. I thought about the way she laughed, the way her shoulders slumped just enough when she thought no one was looking. And I thought about how wrong it would be if I said what I wanted to say. Then she reached out, brushing flour from her wrist, and her hand touched my arm. Barely. Just her fingers warm against my skin. "Don't rush off," she said softly. "Stay a little longer. It's too quiet when it's just me." Her touch lingered. I froze. Every thought in my head collapsed into one. I shouldn't want this. But I did. I told myself I'd stay just a few more minutes. Long enough to be polite. Long enough not to seem like I was running away. But sitting at her kitchen table with a glass of water I didn't need, I realized time wasn't moving the way it should. Every tick of the clock above the sink felt like it was daring me to notice her again. And I did. Over and over. Anna sat across from me, her elbow resting on the table, chin in her hand. She didn't hide the way she looked at me this time. There was a steadiness in her gaze, quiet but unshakable. "You're a good listener," she said. I laughed nervously, scratching the back of my neck. "I didn't really say anything." "Exactly." Her smile was faint, but it lingered. "Most people can't stand silence. You don't try to fill it." Her words sat between us, heavier than the glass in my hand. I wanted to say it was because I was nervous, because I didn't know what the hell I was supposed to do here. But the truth was, I liked listening to her. I liked the rhythm of her voice, even when she said almost nothing. The moment stretched, then cracked when her phone buzzed against the counter. She turned her head, glanced at the screen, and let out a sigh before flipping it face down. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Just my sister," she muttered, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "She'll talk for hours if I pick up." "Not tonight." I nodded, but my chest tightened. She'd chosen this moment, chosen me over someone else. And I knew it shouldn't matter, but it did. When she leaned forward, her arm brushed mine. Not deliberate, not long, but enough to jolt me. My first instinct was to pull back, to put space between us, but my body didn't move. "Sorry," she whispered, though her voice didn't sound sorry at all. I shook my head quickly. "No, it's fine. Really." Silence again. Too full, too close. I gripped the glass harder than I should have, trying to ground myself. I told myself to stand, to say thank you and leave before this spun out of control. But when I opened my mouth, no words came out. Instead, she shifted in her chair, her knee brushing mine this time. The contact was brief, but it felt deliberate, a choice. My pulse thudded in my ears. "Does it feel too warm in here?" she asked, almost teasing. I forced a laugh, shaky. "Maybe a little." Her eyes caught mine, steady, unblinking. "Funny. I don't want you to leave yet." The clock ticked again, the loudest sound in the room. I swallowed hard, every muscle in me taut, balanced between the door and her. And for the first time, I wasn't sure which one I'd choose. I told myself the distance would help. I kept my chair angled slightly away, kept my hands folded in my lap, kept my eyes on the glass of water sweating against the table. But none of it mattered when she finally spoke. "You're too quiet," Anna said, her voice softer now, the kind of soft that feels like it's meant only for you. I forced a smile. "Guess I don't know what to say." "Then don't." She leaned back, studying me with a patience that was almost unbearable. "Sometimes silence says more than words." Her gaze pinned me there, and suddenly, silence wasn't safe anymore. It was dangerous. It was everything I hadn't admitted out loud. I shifted, fingers drumming the table, searching for an escape in small movements. "Anna!" I stopped. My voice cracked on her name, too heavy with something I couldn't hide. She tilted her head. "What?" I opened my mouth, closed it again. Every reason not to say it crowded my chest. She was older, my friend's mom, someone who shouldn't be sitting across from me like this. And yet the truth pushed harder than the reasons. "You make it hard to think straight." The words came out rushed, half-broken, like I wanted to snatch them back the moment they left. Her eyes softened, but she didn't look away. She didn't laugh it off, didn't change the subject. Instead, she whispered, "You think I don't notice?" That hit harder than I expected. My heart slammed against my ribs. I'd been so sure I was hiding it. The glances, the stumbles, the way my pulse always betrayed me around her. But she had seen it all along. I leaned forward, barely, caught in the pull I couldn't fight. "So, what are we doing?" Her breath hitched. Just once, but I heard it. For a moment, the kitchen didn't exist. No clock, no oven, no glass of water between us. Just her, close enough that I could see the tiny scar near her eyebrow, the faint tremble of her fingers where they rested on the table. She drew in a breath, her lips parting like she was about to say something that would change everything. And then knock. A sharp rap at the front door. We both froze, the sound cracking through the moment like glass shattering. She blinked, her spell broken, her hand pulling back from the table. I swallowed hard, my chest still heaving. Neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. The knock came again, louder this time. She finally tore her eyes from mine, exhaling sharply. But when she looked back, there was no mistaking it. The question still hung between us, alive, dangerous, unanswered. "What happens if I open that door?" she whispered. The knock didn't stop. 3 short raps this time, urgent. Anna pressed her palms to the table as if steadying herself, her eyes flicking toward the door. "I should," she began, but her voice caught. Before I could answer, the door creaked open, just enough for a voice to slip inside. "Mom? You here?" My stomach dropped. My best friend. I shot upright, nearly knocking over the chair. Anna's face went pale, her lips parting but no words coming out. We hadn't even touched, but it didn't matter. The air, the closeness, the silence that hung heavy between us was enough to betray us. Footsteps moved through the hall. Anna stood quickly, pressing a hand against her chest as if to calm her heartbeat. "In the kitchen," she called, her voice almost steady. Almost. I tried to school my face into something neutral, casual. "Friend." Nothing more. But the sweat on my palms and the flush in my cheeks told another story. When my friend stepped into the room, his gaze swept from me to his mother, lingering a second too long. He frowned. "Didn't know you were here." I forced a laugh, the sound brittle. "Yeah, your mom asked me to check the oven. Thought it was acting up." Anna jumped in quickly. "It runs hot. He was just helping me with it." Her tone was light, too light. My friend didn't answer right away. His eyes narrowed slightly, suspicion flashing for a moment before he shook it off. "Huh. Well, guess that's good." He grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, glanced at us again, then headed back toward the hall. The moment he was gone, Anna exhaled shakily and pressed her hand to the counter. That was too close, she whispered. I nodded, my chest still tight, but something about the way her eyes darted after him, the fear in her voice, hit me differently. It wasn't just the danger of being caught. It was the weight of what she hadn't said. Before I could stop myself, the words tumbled out. Has this happened before? Her head snapped toward me. What? You seemed... I hesitated, but it was too late to back down. Like you've been through this. Like you've hidden something like this before. For a long moment, she said nothing. Just stood there, staring at me like I'd ripped open a door she never meant to unlock. Finally, she spoke, her voice low. Once, years ago, with someone who wasn't supposed to matter. The confession hit me harder than I expected. I wanted to ask who, when, why, but the look on her face stopped me. Vulnerable, raw, threaded with regret. It ruined things, she added quietly. I swore I'd never let it happen again. And yet here we were. I stepped closer before I realized it, my voice barely a whisper. Then why aren't you telling me to leave? Her eyes flicked up to mine, sharp, searching. And in the silence that followed, I knew the answer mattered more than anything either of us had said yet. Her silence stretched so long it felt like the room itself was holding its breath. I could hear the clock ticking above the sink, the faint hum of the fridge, even the sound of my own pulse hammering in my ears. Finally, Anna spoke. Because I don't want you to. The words weren't loud, but they landed like a strike. I searched her face, waiting for her to take them back, to soften them into something safer. She didn't. I shouldn't have said that, she added quickly, her voice trembling now. You're too young. You're my son's friend. It's wrong, it's reckless, but it's real. I cut in, my voice rougher than I meant it to be. Her eyes widened. She took a step back, as if distance could undo the truth already between us. I followed, not closer, but enough so she couldn't pretend I hadn't said it. I tried to ignore it. I went on, words tumbling fast, unsteady. Tried to make myself believe it was just me, misreading things. But you keep looking at me like this, and I can't stop thinking. Stop, she whispered, but her voice cracked, betraying her. I froze. My chest ached with everything I wanted to pour out and everything I knew I shouldn't. Her hand pressed against the counter, knuckles white. You don't understand what this could do. If anyone found out. She trailed off, shaking her head. I hesitated, my throat tight. Then tell me to leave. Her eyes snapped to mine, raw and desperate. But she didn't say it. Not once. Instead, she exhaled sharply, her whole body trembling with the weight of it. God, you make me feel like I'm... She stopped herself, biting down on the words. But I saw them in her face anyway. Alive. Wanted. Seen. The kitchen felt too small, the air too heavy, the silence too loud. I stepped closer, not reckless, just steady, until I was close enough to catch the faint scent of coffee and flour on her skin. If this is a mistake, I whispered, then it's yours to call. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. Her eyes flicked between mine, searching, breaking, rebuilding all at once. Then her hand lifted, slow, trembling, and pressed lightly against my arm. Not enough to pull me in. Not enough to push me away. Just there. And that was the answer. We didn't kiss. We didn't cross the line in some dramatic, reckless way. But the look we held, the touch that lingered, the silence thick with everything unsaid. It was a confession all on its own. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. If you stay, nothing will be the same. I swallowed, pulse hammering. I don't want it to be. The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. It was full of risk, of longing, of something that could break us or remake us completely. And neither of us stepped away. The truth of it hung between us, raw and undeniable. No excuses left, No way to pretend it was just silence or coincidence anymore. Anna's hand was still on my arm, light but steady, like she was anchoring herself as much as me. I watched her chest rise and fall, watched the way her lips parted like she wanted to speak but couldn't. Finally, she did. "You've changed everything, you know?" Her voice wasn't angry, but it wasn't light either. It was heavy, weighted with all the years she'd spent drawing lines, keeping rules, holding herself together. I swallowed hard. Maybe it needed to change. Her eyes met mine, tired and bright all at once. "You don't understand what you're choosing. If this goes wrong, if anyone finds out, it won't be you who loses the most. It'll be me." I should have backed off. I should have nodded, promised to keep my distance. But something inside me shifted, something I couldn't put back in its box. "I don't want to be anywhere else," I said simply. The words weren't smooth or polished, but they were true, and truth was all I had left to give. Her face softened then, just slightly, enough that I saw the woman behind the armor. Not my friend's mom, not someone trapped by circumstance, but someone who wanted to be seen, really seen. She sighed, running a hand through her hair, and for a moment she almost laughed, though it caught in her throat. "You're reckless," she whispered. I nodded. "Maybe, but I'm here." That broke something open in her. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in the way her shoulders finally loosened, the way her eyes finally stopped fighting mine. For a while, we just stood there in that kitchen. No words, no movements, just the weight of what we'd decided without saying it outright. And in that stillness, I realized something. Love, connection, whatever you call it, doesn't always arrive clean. Sometimes it's messy, inconvenient, dangerous. Sometimes it's the thing you swear you'll never let happen again, until it does. When she finally stepped closer, brushing her hand against mine, it wasn't a grand gesture. It was small, human, but it was enough. And I knew then, no matter how complicated the road ahead might be, that I'd already chosen it. This wasn't just about a kitchen or a stove or an afternoon that got away from us. It was about two people who saw something in each other they couldn't ignore anymore. That's what changed. That's what mattered. And maybe that's the moral, if there is one. Sometimes the scariest truths are the ones that make us feel alive again.